Hey, what's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're taking a look at the Giant Mouse Ace Nibbler. Tiny little fifth pocket knife coming out of Giant Mouse that I absolutely adore. I got mine through a Going Gear subscription several months back, but if you were to buy it in the aluminum scaled version, you're going to end up spending around the $95 price point, which does feel steep for a knife this size. This is only 4.7 inches overall, and so had I not gotten the subscription, I'm not sure I would have pulled the trigger on that $95 price point. But having handled it and carried it, I really have grown to enjoy this knife, and I would almost certainly replace it if I lost it. Now, I got mine in the red aluminum scales, but available in a bunch of different colors, also available in micarta. I'm not sure how the price is affected on the micarta version, but the aluminum ones are all about $95, and all of the colors are as vibrant as this red, but love the way this red looks. It's super vibrant in person, and I hope that's picking up on camera. Now, I already mentioned that this is only 4.7 inches, 2.76 inches of that's in the handle, and so able to get a comfortable two-finger grip. My third finger kind of just falls off the end, although if I choke up a little bit into that sharpening choil, I'm able to get that full three-finger grip at least. Now, I think that's pretty comfortable for the type of stuff I'm using this for. Absolutely no problem with that, both in the kind of choked up position, getting right behind that tip, and a little bit further back. Either way, I feel very comfortable and secure. But if you feel like you need a little bit more purchase on it, you can add a lanyard. There's a lanyard hole in this aluminum backspacer. So aluminum scales, aluminum backspacers, stainless steel liners. And so you do have a nicely placed lanyard hole, and that will allow you to get a little bit more purchase and feel a little bit more controlled. But again, I'm using this for light duty tasks. This is my secondary knife, and so no problem whatsoever with that grip. In fact, I think it's pretty impressive how comfortable it is for the size, because it's kind of hard to accomplish in smaller knives to get a really comfortable grip, and this one does have a nice comfortable grip. Also, with that size, it can make it a little bit difficult to get the angles right. Like, you've seen me already probably spidey flicking this. I'm able to do that with relative consistency, although there was a bit of a learning curve. It was a little bit hard to figure out exactly where to place my fingers for that spidey flick, but once you get it down, it's like riding a bike. Every time I pick this up, it's very consistent. But if you're not someone who's spidey flicking, also slow rolls with your thumb really easily, very nice and smooth. It is on bearing, so that's kind of lending to that a little bit, but extremely smooth deployment either way. The blade on this is just under 2 inches. You end up with about 1.875 inches of cutting edge. So tiny little blade. It is in Bohler N690. Nice satin finish on here, flat grind, and a modified Wharncliffe. Probably would have fit in well with yesterday's video actually. And so we do have that slope down to the tip, and it is swedged on the sloped portion of that blade. So really nice thin tip and able to choke up on that very nicely. Now we do have a little bit of a belly, that being a modified Wharncliffe, so a little bit of belly, but not very pronounced. It's a very slight curve there. The spot where my thumb lands is nice and flat, and so locks in really well there. There is no jimping, but don't really feel like I'm missing it. Now, in terms of the lock, we have a liner lock, and you have nice access to that liner lock and a lot of fine jimping along it that gives you really nice purchase. So really easy to engage that lock and don't feel like you're slipping off of it or anything like that. Weight-wise, we're only 1.9 ounces. It is aluminum and also tiny, so that's not surprising, but extremely lightweight in the pocket and hand. And you do have the micarta option as well. I don't know how that affects the pricing, but the aluminum is very slick, and that might make it feel, you know, a little bit less secure than the micarta one is. You're going to be able to lock in on that one very well. But with the aluminum, it has this wire pocket clip, and I'm sure that's true with the micarta as well. And I'm not usually a fan of wire pocket clips. Just aesthetically, I have no problem with utility-wise, but aesthetically, I don't like the way they look. I don't like the slots that they leave in the side that it's not installed in. And in this case, I think it is really well done, and I like that it has a wire pocket clip. I think if they had gone with a milled pocket clip, we might be getting a little bit slippery with a smooth pocket clip and the smooth aluminum. when I'm deploying this, I feel like I'm able to use that pocket clip to push into the meat of my hand, which is one of the reasons I'm able to Spidey flick it so consistently. And without that, I don't know if that would be so easy. So something I do like about it, not completely deep carry, but pretty deep carry. You just have that little bit of tip sticking out of your pocket. The backspacer, I think I already mentioned, is aluminum. The liners are stainless steel. And really, really clean aesthetic. You can see on that show side, absolutely no branding, billboarding of any sort. There's nothing on the blade, nothing on the handles. And so if we flip over to that other side, you do have your Giant Mouse logo, the Ace and the N690, but kept it very, very minimal. And I think, you know, Giant Mouse, I have a few of their knives and I like all of them, but this is probably my favorite. And I think what that is most of their designs I feel like are pretty elegant, pretty classy, and yeah, I like them. But this one feels a lot more playful, and I'm also just a big fan of small knives, and so I think that's what I like so much about it. But it's also really, really well done, which again is harder to do on smaller knives. It might seem like, you know, it should be the same thing, just scale it down a little bit, but it's hard to get those things right, and they got them all right on this knife. Now, one other thing I did want to point out on here is these screws. So they did not skimp out on the screws despite being a smaller knife. We have T8 across the board. Again, really appreciate that. Don't like T6 on body screws. Don't mind them as much on pocket clips, but for body screws, I want T8 across the board. So both the pivot and body screws are T8 in this case, which I really like. Now, this is made in China, but it's OEM'd by Reate. They do excellent work. This is no exception. Really, really excellent job on this. I think mine at least is very dialed in. The detent's just about perfect and butter smooth, like I said. So absolutely no issues with this knife whatsoever. Now, I think a lot of where the issue might come for some people is just the size of it, to be honest. Not everyone likes carrying smaller knives, especially if they only carry one, and also maybe don't love spending that price on such a small knife. But for me, after having handled it and carried it, I definitely feel like it warrants that. But that's really it for this knife. Gonna keep it kind of short and sweet. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. And I will link to it somewhere in the description. Not sure if that'll be an affiliate link or not, but if you're thinking about picking these up, I'll put a link down in the description. And like I said, should be about $95. I don't think I've seen them any cheaper, but I'll try and shop around before I put those links in. But again, let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and hitting that notification button. And as always, hope you have a great one. Take care.